Okay, so we're live. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing time today. And especially, I want to thank our speakers for making it here. Our moderator and our speakers are super ready for us, and I believe everyone is also ready. So we're going to be diving right in already. Let's have our music post now. Great, so you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, so we're going to be diving right into it already. Awesome. So once again, we thank our speakers for showing up. And as we all know, that this webinar we're dealing with Into the Streets, the impact of direct sales agents on product distribution. And we have top guys, top people, top leaders, here. I'm sure it's going to be worth the while. But before I go ahead to hand over to our moderator, I'm going to quickly be introducing our speakers. People have been saying that this lineup, DHA, this lineup is like awesome. So yes, I can also wait to start introducing our speakers already. So like you can see on the screen, we have Rasheed Adewusi, the head of sales, MCOPA. And like you can also see, one thing I really like about Rasheed, his bio, is that it is very unconventional. Yeah, we heard a lot of people say that, very unconventional, right? He's an experienced professional with expertise in strategy, leadership, management, commercial excellence, operational excellence, growth acceleration, coaching, and mentoring. With Colgate experience gathered across FMCG, telecoms, renewables, and fintech sectors. Now, it's his private life. In his private life, is what you can call dialect gentleman. He's a music Africano, though he can neither sing or dance to save his life. He's a comedy addict, and not a day goes by without treating himself to some. He's also a voracious reader, and he does not discriminate between fiction and non-fiction. I think that's interesting. He loves basketball, football, Scrabble. Family is everything, but family to him is not just by blood. It is more by art. His circle is small, but very deep. An interesting fact about Rasheed is that he is passionate about education. He hopes to set a not-for-profit primary/secondary school at some point in his lifetime. I think that's amazing. I think that's really amazing. That's really amazing. Thank you so much, Rasheed, for choosing to do this with us. We're happy to have you. Also, we have Isoken, the regional sales director for MoneyPoint. Amazing. Isoken has over a decade of experience in commercial strategy, business development, and digital transformation. Isoken is the director at MoneyPoint with a track record of driving growth through revenue and go-to-market strategies. She's also a consistent leader with a passion for action and has built high-performing, successful teams in the fintech space. Also, she's an active member of WISBEAM, a volunteer at Orphans and Widows Support Foundation, and a faculty contributor at Taustack. She's an alumni of Lagos Business School and has worked with startups and established organizations like eTransact International PLC, Peerview Limited, and MoneyPoint, and has built a reputation for herself as a high-performing leader in tech. Awesome. Thank you so much, Isoken, for doing this with us. We also have Chidum, who is a business consultant. He's an experienced business lead who has served as a regional manager in OPay, head of branchless banking, senior consultant at GLG, commercial lead at AutoChick Africa, and currently the CEO and founder of Adia. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you so much for doing this with us, Chidum. We're really happy to have you here. Okay. So we have our amazing moderator. I'm sure this place is going to be fire very soon once I hand over to him. We have Israel Babajide, the head Global Expansion Services Flutterwave. Okay, so Israel is an experienced professional, passionate about excellence in leadership, creative entrepreneurship, and education. He has almost a decade experience in financial services, working in 2 commercial banks, GTB and Keystone Bank. Wow. And 3 fintech startups. including unicorns such as Flutterwave and OPay, operating in business development, partnerships, project management, and sales. Awesome. While at GT Bank, he opened and managed the account of SANEF, working closely with super agents and agent backing clients to promote financial inclusion. It was part of the pioneer team that launched business banking at OPay and expanded it across the country. He also built, and sold the business banking solution at Crowdforce, which success led to the acquisition of the product to become Payforce by Fair Money or Fair Money Business today. He's a graduate of physics from Covenant University and has a master's in data science from Rome Business School in View. In his spare time, now this is the interesting part, he works with the National Association of Afri-Jews, I hope I pronounced that well, and out of school children as an advocate focused on eradicating child labor and promoting child education and empowerment. Awesome. He currently works with the global expansion team at Flutterwave, driving expansion efforts across Africa and the rest of the world. Amazing. Thank you so, so much to Israel and every of our speakers. We're super excited to have you. And I'm sure it's going to be an amazing, amazing time. So I'm going to be handing over to our moderator to, own the stage alongside the speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Faith. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's a pleasure to be speaking with these superstars today. I'd like to share some insight that myself and Chidum worked at OPay at the same time. I worked in business intelligence while you were core sales. And fun fact about Isoken, she might not know, but she had interviewed me before. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, sometime in my career, I was about to join Money Point and I had an interview with Isoken. So it's really nice speaking to you again. Rasheed, I may not know you, but I'm glad to be speaking to you. And now we'll get to know ourselves. And so please feel comfortable. I trust that this is going to be an interesting conversation about, product distribution, last mile distribution as a channel to grow products and services. So let's get right into the questions. And I just want us to get to know you a bit more. You know how these profiles like to make us look so uptight. So I just want to hear from you. Who are you? And how did you get yourself into sales and distribution? So just like to get feedback from every one of our speakers. Thank you. So we could start with you, Rasheed.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad to go first. So I would say, I think the bio captured it, like how I am, kind of like playful way of doing sales. But then if I have to say it, I'll say sales chose me. I didn't choose the path. Coming out of school, I wanted to go into consulting, and somehow I landed in Coca-Cola. They gave us 2 weeks training and they threw us into the streets. If you work with NDC, you understand that it's a sales-focused environment. And from there, I enjoyed it. And that's how, from there, I've moved around. But then, I get bored easily. So if you look through my CV, once I've done something for a year, 2 years, I feel like I need a new challenge. So after doing Coke for 1.5 years, I felt like, okay, I've sold enough sugar. Let me go and see what it's like to sell alcohol. Then I joined Guinness. I've sold soft. Let me go and see what it's like to sell hard. So I joined Guinness, did that for like 12 years or so. And I was feeling like, okay, yeah, I've seen this, but is it good? Is this how I want to spend my life? Waking up every day and telling people to drink and drink more. Could I do something else? Then found myself in telecoms, Airtel. So far, that's where I've spent the longest period of my career. It was fun, it was interesting. Tried my hand at different things, sales, marketing, training. We launched new products. I was fortunate to be in Ikeja, which was the hub of telecoms in Lagos. So at every point in time, we had to pilot everything. I was always at the core of it. So I enjoyed it. But after a while also, I got bored, spoke to some of my mentors, like, I feel I'm just floating. And that was when a very solid advice came like, okay, you think you're good, like you're getting bored just being part of a big system. You're just a cog. You're just like one nut in an engine. Like maybe you should try startups. And that was when I took it. That I joined a renewable energy company called Delight. Spent like 3.5 years there. Very interesting, doing product design, charting new channels, going into the rural areas. Like the things I've sold before were established. They were brands. The Airtel at that point was over 15 years old in Nigeria, longer than that. The other two were like over 100 years old. But this is a brand that when you go, you have to first talk about the brand before you start talking about the product. But it was fun also. You could see how we're moving people up the energy ladder, how we're doing renewables, doing financial inclusion. You're driving a whole lot at the same time. That was when I started working fully with direct sales agents. And you could see the impact we were also making in their lives, in their communities. And after doing that also for like some time, I'm like, okay, let me look for a new challenge. Then I landed at M Cooper. 3.5 years, very solid, very deep, very enjoyable. That's how I landed here.
Thank you so much for that brief. I think the key highlight for me is your experience across new territories and old and existing territories. The large corporates and then the new startups. So that will be very helpful as we grow in this conversation. Thank you so much. Isoken, can we hear from you?
Sure. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Just a brief. I don't think I'm as good a storyteller as Rasheed, but I'll try. I also sort of fell into sales. I studied mathematics, and immediately I after school, I was looking for way to serve, and
Mm,
I found my way to one of the legacy fintechs in Nigeria, eTransact, and they took me in and put me in this amazing business team where I learned so much. I before then, I think the only understanding I had around like payments was, when I was paying school fees, you'd go to the bank, you make your payment, and they say, "Oh, we're waiting for a transact or something like that, or InterSwift,
yeah.
like that." So
Mhm.
that was the only thing I understood about how payments worked. But coming in, starting my career smack down with um, the largest or one of the largest fintechs then was just an amazing introduction into fintech. And I think I've been in fintech ever since. From there, I moved on. I had a small stint with a data and analytics organization in, I think it was 2018. And then after that, I joined Money Point, then Team at Limited in 2019. That was July 2019. And I remember then, we're so small. We were just about, I don't think we're up to 100. Our head office was Wole Ario in Lekki, phase one. And it was just a small um, organization with like fantastic dreams. And um, from there till now, I think the story sort of speaks for itself. I started with the payment gateway service, which is Monify, and then as time went on, my portfolio expanded and I moved fully into the banking services and the payment gateway service. So today I manage the entire north and part of Lagos State, and I have a team of about 50 business relationship managers that are literally on the streets. So I think for a long time I've managed teams, I've built teams, and hopefully my experience would be useful to this session.
It definitely will be. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Chidum, let's save the best for last.
Yeah, all right. So for me, basically, I used to be in construction. I read in school architecture, so I was just used to doing building design and all. So along the line, when I got the call from Ube, I wouldn't lie, I was like, should I really do sales? But I said, wow, OPay, I was a customer of OPay then. I used the bike services, the ORAD and Utrike. I'm like, they look exciting. Let me try it out. I mean, it's doing something that is beyond the regular. At OPay, I could say that I learned quite a whole lot. I joined OPay when there was no app to onboard agents or onboard merchants. We were just using Google Sheet and Excel files, and we didn't know OPay would become this big the way it is today. Just a team of 17 team leads, and OPay was like the bulk of my sales career. And from OPay, I moved on. I worked at iTex. I was head of branch banking, and iTex being a PTSP. I learned a lot about the back end of the industry, from the payment process, the engineering flow, the different modules that support the whole payment infrastructure. I mean, iTex has been one of the oldest PTSPs in Nigeria, so working with Ernest actually gave me a lot of insights. From iTex, I moved to GLG USA as a senior consultant. I helped startups build processes. I helped them build products. I helped them build business plans. And from that, I said, okay, let me try the industry. And I moved into cars, automobile. I went to AutoCheck. At AutoCheck also, I led a team that actually helped the entire public eradicate transportation through cash loans and through car loans, using the car as the major actor. And currently, I'm the CEO and founder of IDA. We help guide angel investors on building processes, building businesses, and also linking the A to Z's of those in the fintech space. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the brief intro background. So we'll go straight into the technical questions. And this first question is for everyone. I would like you to just tell us how important or critical are direct sales agents to your business or to your business model. We know there are different models you can adopt to sell your product or your service. But for the purpose of this conversation, how relevant or how critical are direct sales agents to your business? Let's go with Rasheed, please. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
say super critical. Like, it's a bedrock, it's a foundation. If we don't have the direct sales agents, we might as well pack up and go home.
Okay. So very critical. That's what you're saying. On a scale of 1 to
Yes,
5, what would you say, with 5 being the highest?
5+.
5 plus. Amazing. All right, it's okay.
I completely agree. The direct sales agents, they are critical to your success as an organization if you intend to be a revenue generating organization, right? If you intend to add value, if you intend to put yourself on the map, those guys are going to be key. That community you build, that infrastructure you build is going to be key to whether or not your organization remains profitable or not. So I will give it a 5+ as well.
5 plus as well. Chidum, is your value going to be different?
Yeah, so for me, the DSAs they are the most important leg of the offline in any business. So if you're looking at expanding your reach, you're looking at driving revenue, you're looking at expanding market growth, you're looking at cost focus, you're looking at controlling the price of your product in the market. You need to have that native intelligence from those that are the first layer, and those are the DSAs because they are the ones that interface with the market from time to time. So yes, they are like the important leg of the offline and for me, it's a 5+2.
Awesome. I think I'll just stay with you, Chido, and I think we'll just move to the next questions. What do you think are the key advantages of utilizing DSAs, as opposed to other means of distribution? So I know for some products, and maybe Rashid could also chime in there, most businesses could adopt using aggregators or using influential people to distribute their products. While we have all agreed that direct sales agents are very critical, especially in the offline space. So the question really is, what are the key advantages that these DSAs bring, as opposed to other forms of retail distribution? So I'll start with you, Dom, and then we'll just go.
All right. So looking at the entire retail the most important elements are expansion, awareness, and penetration. And yes, like you have the aggregator model and influencer model, the whole idea is that you want to expand your business. Now, what makes DSA stand out is they give you room for flexibility because these are people that are actually they can be core staff or non-core staff, but they interface with the business directly and also with the customers, as opposed to an aggregator that is not giving you that full loyalty. So what is key that we should know is that for a DSC, they are the ones that actually help you to understand how your product works better. Is your product market fit? Are there peculiarities in terms of your product knowledge? And I'll give you an example. So today, looking at the payment arm of fintech, we are having lots of startups kind of go into one channel. Everyone is looking at how can they do payment gateways, how can they do cross-border payments, how can they do FX, or just one channel. But the idea is that this channel, despite fact being Nigeria, there are different peculiarities in each region. And these peculiarities, you need to get due feedback of how can this product work in the north, how can it work in the west, east, or south. The way it works in the north might not be the way it works in the east or west or south. If you are going truly, you are going pure on having retail outlets, you are going pure on having those aggregators, you find out that yes, you're getting feedback, but your feedback is centralized because you can have an aggregator that actually covers a distance and takes your product off a particular zone or off a particular area. Same with retail outlet. You have many people walk into your outlet and with different perceptions. But a DSC, they give what I call the bid structure. And in that bid structure is you're having DSCs that are tied to a particular location whereby they are growing your business there. And they're giving you real feedback of this is how the product works in this part of Nigeria or this part of the world. These are the product works with this kind of people. This I work with a particular income class. So what is key for you as a business is that the DSCs, what they give is they're giving you real-time customer relationship, they're giving you real-time price control, and your cost focus too. They enable you to make some decisions in terms of your cost flexibility because you're not really looking at you're putting in so much effort in getting retail outlet or getting a large aggregator system. You are dealing with human beings. Do you understand? And you can have two DSCs cover a particular business zone, and if you do it quite well, you get revenue. So why would you want to build them a branch in that particular area? So if you have an Ikeja, for example, and you have two DSs covering from Allen all the way down to Tony and Okwebi, you might not need to have a retail outlet there. If they are giving you real feedback, they are giving you good business, and they are giving you good numbers there. So these are the most important things that I think the DSCs they bring on board as opposed to other retail options.
Thanks. Rasheed, would you like to share something? Because I'd like to hear from your perspective.
Yes, I will. He's touched on very good points, so I'll just add to them. One also is that it gives you the full control to do push rather than pull. When you're using retail outlets, that means you've opened and you're expecting people to come in, which means you still need to do some drive above the line, do some drive below the line to bring people in. But when you use direct sales agents, they're on the field, they're going out by themselves. They are the ones going to meet customers where they are, where they work, where they sleep. You understand? They're able to do that. Because you do it also at community level, they also come already with credibility, which you might need to spend money on by yourself if you don't have them. So when they walk into a place, because it's an area they know, because it's language they can speak, they are able to quickly connect to people. They're able to tailor their speech to those people because they know them. And those people would also trust them because they know they are close by. You know, basically, as much as we do business in Nigeria, people still like those partner touches. Like, I know my account officer. I know the person I can talk to. People, in my experience, people would rather call the person who sold to them than call the company's official helpline. Also, the other one I want to talk about is value for money. When you set up a retail outlet, it's longer than using direct sales execs. That's why you need to set up a region, you need to set up an office, you need to have headcounts in those places. And you'll find out that your budget to make those sales, it's now stretched among so many competing needs. But when you have direct sales execs, you find out that the bulk of the money you want to spend goes directly into the pockets of the people would do the actual job. You're not having the bulk of the money going into paying rents, going into paying utilities. You're having the bulk of it. So you might just have a place where they can point to and say, we have our office in this place. But you know the bulk of the work is being done by the guys on the street. Then there's agility also as part of it, which is that you can scale faster. If you have people who are already thriving on the road, you can start a referral scheme, say we need more people, and you have this in addition to what you already earn. If you refer this person and they do this and they stay for this long, I'll give you this amount of money, which is additional income on top of the ones you earn for bringing in the revenue. So you find out that you can scale faster. If that's not working, you can scale back easily. But if you're using retail outlet or you're using aggregator, you probably sign a contract and you have to make the contract work out before you eventually say, okay, this is not working, I'm not doing it. Then the last part of it is control over your brand messaging.
Yeah.
Because these guys are within, because they are part of you, because they take the business like they are part of the business. You are able to say, this is what we're saying, this is how we're saying it. You are not outsourcing it to aggregators who they are in it for a time because it's a contract. You're not giving it to aggregator who at one time or the other, they have some other people also they're working for, and they can even pull resources away from yours and pull it to another. So because you have people who are committed to the cause, who are part of the team, and they are so widespread, you have them keeping the message constant. When you need to change the message also, it's also very easy to pass across to them, and you see everybody rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think two things that really stand out to me from what yourself and Chidum have said is, on Chidum's side, he's stressed on feedback. You know, as a product owner, you want to get feedback on what your actual customers are saying about your product, and DSAs are like the first channel that you can easily get that feedback. And then Rasheed, you really touched on control of your messaging, control of your distribution, and even the scale at which you distribute. You can roll back easily with DSAs as opposed to using aggregators and the likes. So thank you so much for that. I think the next question really will be to get some use cases, right? And I'm sure Isoken has so much. Just looking at how Money Point has grown over the last few years. I remember Chidum, when we were at OPE, we were always wondering, what's Money Point doing? Why are these people taking some of our businesses? So we'd like to hear some, use cases and stories of how DSAs have been able to help with market penetration for your business. Thanks.
Okay, I think one story that comes to mind, it's tied to a product that we launched fairly recently, our loan product. So as you know, we give out loans to businesses, to our partners. One very, very important thing that happened that sort of helped us navigate resource allocation and helped us navigate the path for that particular product was the feedback we got from a particular region. Now, credit is important to every business, as we all know.
Yeah.
But the way businesses view credit differs from region to region. And we noticed that in a particular region, we weren't making as big or as deep of an impact as we would have or as we were in other regions. And one of the things that is perfect or amazing about the field team, the field staff, the field sales personnel is because they also have the trust of your target market. They are open, they are willing to share not just their pain points and their needs, but also willing to share with you insights on how to convert them. So one key feedback that this DSA team did for us when they did a recon and they did a market research for us was they let us know that in this particular part of the north, there is a weight around loans or collecting credit, right? It is not a problem with the business, it is more of a belief
The
problem.
culture
However,
thing.
it's a cultural thing. But there is a way to navigate that culture. There's a way to build, or there's a product you can build that would make credit more acceptable, whether it's to change the language itself and change it to something different, whether it's to build a product that would allow them to receive products as against receiving the funds itself. All that information was so useful, and it was useful because the demographic in question was such an integral part of the entire market base as well. Like these were businesses that if they had access to funding, it would impact their business in such a large scale and would also impact us at the end of the day. So all this intel that we got from this our field sales team, and because they also had the ear and the trust of the people, they were also able to give them feedback to and say, if we build something like this, right, would you be more open
To
the
using it.
set? And immediately we got the feedback, we were able to align our resources as well, which is also important as a business, right? You want to make sure that your resources are going into the most profitable for your organization. If not, you
Yeah.
will just spending on branding, marketing, you just spend and miss. But
Yeah.
because we have information, we're able to build something to speak to that particular demographic, and immediately it turned around things for that product.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that insight that you get, from them being a part of the customers you want to get is very helpful. Very, very helpful. Rashid, do you want to share any story with us um, of how DSAs have been so integral to your growth in any of the companies you've worked in?
Okay, so let me speak of, I can speak of Delight and speak a little about Cooper. So when I was in Delight, and we had DSAs, we used to call them solar energy promoters, and basically they were the ones who had to pick the products and go and distribute. And after distributing, they also have to install. And after installing, they also have to do checks after like 5 days to find out if people were actually enjoying this. And because they were doing all of those, there were some challenges with the product, which was that the cables that were coming with it were not long enough. And most people had to now spend extra cash to buy the cables. And they basically just came back and said, these are blockers. We have competitors who are not going through this. And coming back with us feedback, we were able to sit and like do the unit economics again and say, this is something we can take care of from here. And we just did that. And we could see the sales go up over 100%.
Wow.
In under 1 month. Like if we had not had those and maybe we had a third-party agency taking and they were selling over the air and we have an agency job, we would not get those feedback in those real time and we would not be able to move that fast to get those done. Like, yeah, it was a product defect, but the solution was something like go to the open market and buy these and add it into the boxes, and that solved it, basically. So right now also in M-Copper, we sell phones, and basically the people go to the markets and they come back and they tell you like, okay, yes, we're driving this and we're saying people want like, they want the memory to be high, they
Is
want
that
the
what they
storage to
want?
be
Yeah.
high, exactly. And I'm saying like, that's what the OEMs will tell you, and then you will say, okay, let's range this. Let's range 128 gig. Let's range 256 gig storage. But then you find out that it's struggling because in the market, what people are looking for is actually very good camera.
Exactly.
Which is I want to take a very fine picture and put it on status and post it on Instagram and all, and basically not the storage. Because the phones are also very optimized. When you take the picture, even 64 gig phone might take like 18 months or 2 years for it to fill up.
Yeah.
So when those feedback come in, and they come in, you're able to sift because they are coming in from different places. Like, the people in Central Lagos in terms of mindset are a bit different from the people you might meet in Akure.
Definitely.
But then when you get those feedbacks everywhere, you're able to sit and say, this is common from everywhere. Okay, this is localized to this place. And then it might just be you from the central office tweaking some things, or then in those localized places, tweaking your messaging to support your guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for product owners and builders, I think this is very helpful because when you're doing product design, they teach this concept of design thinking where you build your products based on the feedback you get from your customers and how they would like to use your product. So DSAs are one of the best channels to get helpful feedback. And Rasheed, you mentioned the OEMs. When you engage your product suppliers or manufacturers, you have this helpful insight. So you don't build something that customers don't really, want, right? So thanks for that. So the next question really is, we've discussed the model and we know that the model works. But remember, DSAs are actual human beings, right? They're actual human beings. And you know how human beings are. We are a very special breed. So I'd like to ask, and maybe Chidum and Isoken can speak to this. How do you recruit DSAs? What criteria do you look out for? Are there particular things you want to see in people before you can, recruit them? And so, how do we get the right DSAs to work with us to help our product scale accordingly? So I think Chidum, you can start, and then Isoken can speak to that.
Yeah, so recruitment, it's basically you understanding your product and what your product needs. So as an employer or as a hiring manager, you know your product, you should know the right DSC that suit that portfolio. And I'll give you an example. So when we were at AutoCheck, I recall that and we found out that for some it worked, for some it didn't work. Now it's not as if we went to recruit people that were not graduates. Do you understand? It's basically it worked based on the portfolios of the people aligning with the product. So the first thing that you should look at for a DSA is, number one, you should have in mind that since it's an informal it's an informal pool they are going into. The first is, does that person has the willingness to fit into your portfolio? So it starts from the interview process. Do you want to sell? That is very, very key. Not everyone wants to sell because of they want to sell. They want to sell because of they want a job. They want to sell because of they just want to get out of the house. They want to sell because of they just want to have an ID card. Do you want to sell? That is key. If you want to sell and you're not making progress, you find out that you put in effort that will scale for you at a point. So that is one, the mentality. Then the second thing you look at also is the person's willing to learn on that product, and that comes after you've done the interview process, probably during the point of training. So during your training period, there should be a willingness of your new hires to learn on the product. This is the product. Is it cross-functional? Is it modular? You're selling just one part of the product. Are you willing to learn on this product? If you've been selling in the past, maybe tech, now you're selling probably tire. Uh, do you want to know how to sell tires? And that has to do with your ethics to the training process. Do you come on time? Are you paying attention to the trainer? Are you taking down notes? These are very, very important things that it is good to spot them out early before you bring on board them fully into your system. Then the third part is you have to appraise them from the first two. So the first is they've been interviewed, they've come in. The second part is they've been trained. From the interview to training process, how has this person fared? Now, most mistakes that most startups make is they don't appraise from the first two steps. They start appraising when the person has gone way deep into the system and becomes unproductive. So from the first these two steps, you can have the appraisal maybe via a survey, or maybe just have like a mock kind of a mock kind of qualification test to know, okay, from what you've been taught so far, what can you do, or what do you know, and how can you apply it? You just appraise them on that parameter. Then lastly is once they've gone through these three stages, then they have to body plan. it's important to body plan them with those that are actually in the system and know it better. And it is good when they do it with probably some team leads. So I'm a big fan of while recruiting your new hires, ensure that you lead from the front, and that is on body planning. So they've gone through the first three stages. You've seen that yes, this person is fit enough to be in the business. Now, how do you body plan with them? That body planning is very important because for the DSAs, remember that I said that it's a very, very large informal pool. It's informal. Because it's informal, you will find all kind of cultural issues with those you are bringing on board. That is just bound to happen. So when you body plan with them, the first is you building this person's confidence on the job. Second is you are giving them real-time insights. So it is beyond what they learned from training, beyond what they had during the onboarding process or when they're interviewed. They're now having real-time insights on this is what the job is all about. Most companies that body plan, I can tell you that they do go very far. And I can remember when I was at OPay, one of the things that helped the DSCs then was body planning. You pick up a DSC, you take them to your own agent, you work to their own agents, you do that within the particular frequency, and you find out that this person is becoming sticky to the process. So these are the key things that I feel you should look out for during recruitment and also how you can implement.
Okay, thank you so much. It's okay.
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, right? I think before we even start like the recruitment process as an organization, you should have your personnel board, right? For your organization, what kind of DSAs, what kind of field staff are you looking for? That board should have the values of your organization as well, because while you're interviewing them, while you're speaking to them to see if they'll be a good fit, you need to check for knowledge fit. Do they even understand how the industry works? They don't need to be technical, but do they know like the basics? Then you need to also check a cultural fit. If your organization thrives on toxicity, you want to get people who can align with that toxicity and push your toxic campaign. Someone who has the exact opposite will never thrive in that organization and
Yeah.
will not be able to give you what you want. One thing for us at Money Point, one of our values, our core values is grit. So when I'm having a conversation with you, right, I'm going to look at, and it's also going to be the questions I ask you. I'm going to ask to look for whether or not you have grit, right? Because that is a very key core value for us. So you need to look out, you need to have on your personal board those those things. Is there a knowledge fit? Is there a cultural fit? And then an experience fit, depending on what kind of field sales staff you're trying to recruit. So when you have all this in place, right, it would also give you some direction when you're interacting with this person. It doesn't have to be an elaborate conversation, just one or two questions, and you'll be able to tell immediately whether this is your person, right? And then also, one important thing is also a community fit or a geographical fit. I
Yeah.
think it goes without saying that you will do better if you have a team from a region, right, that is based and that is localized in that region to push your product, to push your service, as against migrating someone or a team from a different region, from one region to a different region where they have no understanding of that region, right? You would do a lot better when you have that local fit. Then after that, one other important thing we do is training. Training, it goes without saying. And one of the things that training would do for you as the business and for the team or the staff that you have hired is, for them, it would show how your organization works. And I mean, I've sold POS before, I've done this before, but
Mm.
I've not done it in the context
The
of
way. Mm-hmm.
points. I've not done it in the context of OP. So when
Mm.
I come in and I have this training and I see and I say, oh, okay, this is how they operate here. Immediately I can transition, immediately I can relearn right quickly. And then for the organization as well, it helps you imbibe, or it helps you teach your own value system to your team, to your field staff, because they're also going to take that branding, they're going to take the marketing, they're going to take the messaging, and that's what they're going to spread across. So you want to give them those key points. Oh, this is our slogan, creating financial happiness. Everywhere they go, that should be the catchphrase for them. This is what you training them would do for your organization.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think I'm going to stay with you, Isoken, because you actually just spoke on what leads to the next question. But just to summarize some of the things we've said, we've talked about, the mindset. You don't want to get someone who's lazy, and I think we can all agree for sales, you need driven people, because your target is not going to drop and it's going to keep compounding month on month. So you need driven people. You need people who have a culture fit, who have a location fit as well. Isoken spoke about that. And then when they come into the system, you now have to train them and equip them. And I think that's the next thing we're going to speak about. And I want Isoken to speak on this. So I want actual practical, steps. How do you approach training these DSAs? How do you approach onboarding these DSAs so that they can, like you said, capture the essence of your company, how you guys do your sales, how you deliver on your numbers? What approach do you have that's maybe unique or different for training these DSAs?
Okay. So typically, I'll use our organization as an
Sure.
example. We have a a duration, a time frame. So before I speak to it, I know I've engaged a couple of founders who say things like, as soon as you start, you immediately hit the field, you go, go in. We need people to start getting results yesterday, right? Which is understandable considering. But I think I feel the best at what we do is we take a particular period, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks, and we train you. So we have training sessions. We have an entire L&D team dedicated towards ensuring that every aspect of your role is put together in a learning package that you can learn from. And this is not just normal virtual learning, but also in-person learning where possible. You're going to meet with a team, or you're going to meet with a staff who's going to walk you through and let you know, oh, now that you're here, this is where you start from. This is how you onboard. This is who the target market is. This is what is expected of you from here on out. Also, these are some of the challenges that you might face, when you come in contact with certain personalities, right? This is how you can navigate it, right? When there is a problem here, this is the escalation route you can take, right? So these training takes some time, and it's also important that you invest in the training, because what happens after that is going to be crucial to the success of that particular field agent. We, after every session, right, there is a test or an exam or something, to test your knowledge of what you have learned, because I need you, as you go on the field, to sell the way I would sell.
Mm,
I need you to replicate a particular type of effort on the field, right? Because I know that effort will bring XYZ results. So I
yeah.
need time to teach you how to onboard, what do you need to do, launch your application, enter these details. This is what, if you have this error message, this is how you escalate, and things like that. So yeah, training is really important. The duration is important. Ensuring that the training is there's a feedback mechanism for the training where I
Mm.
have taught you and I understand, or I'm convinced that you understand the information I've passed.
Yeah, thank you so much. That training is so important. I wanted to ask though, what if the DSC doesn't pass the exam?
Now you do it again. You
You do it again. Oh,
yeah. So
great,
you
great.
probably take an online course instead of having, or join another session, because we hire consistently. So
Cohorts. Yeah, you
you would
have
need,
multiple cohorts. Yeah. Okay, great, great. Rashid, across your
Yes.
various companies, how does training look like for these
So,
DSAs?
so let me speak about right now what we do at Aigbomian, which works fine. And it's also a very structured process that the we have separate people who do recruitments. Like I said earlier, we use our internal guys to do recruitment, our field sales guys, or even our direct sales agents to refer people. So they do the recruitments. Then they hand over to our training team, who vets those people first and foremost. Have they met the criteria? Do they have like the basic knowledge? They vet them. Then those who pass the vetting, are they above the, are they up to the age where we can put them as independent contractors or not? Those who pass those vetting will now need to come into a classroom where it takes like 3 hours. And the training goes, the first part first talks about the company, our vision, talks about our values and all. Then there's the other part of the training that takes you through what you are going to see in the field every day, how to actually onboard a customer, that takes you through objection handling and all of those. So those takes like 3 hours. And afterwards they take an online test based on what they've learned. Anyone who doesn't get up to 80% would have to go and come back and take the training again. Then after that, you now have 7 days, whereby for those who have passed, for the next 7 days, every day they get a training on the app that tells them, okay, this is how you handle this. This is how you manage inventory. When a customer says, I want to return my products, this is how you handle it. So those training also, if you had put all of those together in a room, it would have been an overkill to do it in one day. But you put all of those in the next 7 days, they now take some other 7 courses. In the course of taking all of those, they would have been understanding like, okay, this is how this business, different parts of this business interconnects and all. And within those period also, we have an incentive structure for those kind of recruitments. So for the person who recruited, that will be the body partner for that new DSA. Because when the new DSA hits the milestone that has been set to say you must have made this number of sales in your first 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, both of them at the end of the day, once that cycle is over, get some juicy rewards. So you'll find out that the new DSA has a body partner who is an experienced DSA, who is checking, who is giving guidance. And then the DSA also has a manager, a supervisor who is an MCOPA staff who is also giving them guidance. So you find out that they are very well equipped, well trained, and because they are commission based, but they are making the sales, which means they are already earning the money, and they are also accumulating some for end of the month. You find out that they are able to deliver very well on the job.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think a major takeaway here is that training is it's a deal breaker. It's something that must happen. And I'm just thinking back about some of the experiences we had at OPE. Aside from even training as an onboarding, I remember that we also had weekly trainings with the DSAs every week where we inform them about product updates, we inform them about what competitors are doing, pricing updates. When either Money Point or any of the competing products is doing a promo, we all have to be aware. We all have to know how to adjust to this, because we know that if you go out in the market and customers are saying this competitor is doing XYZ, you have to know how to deal with that objection and how to sell your product, better. So training is not just for onboarding, but it's also a continuous thing to ensure that the DSAs have the right capacity to deliver on the numbers you have given them to deliver for you. So I think that's something our product owners and product builders need to know about DSAs. Now, we know that in this space of sales, there's so much, competition. All right. So I really want us to talk about how we motivate and incentivize our sales agents, right? I would like the 3 speakers to speak on this. What strategies do you implement to motivate, your sales agents? How do you get them gingered? How do you get them motivated? I know Rasheed, you spoke about commissions. Do you adopt a commission model or like a flat salary? Well, I'd just like us to talk about motivation and compensation.
Okay, so let me go first here.
Yeah, sure.
So motivation very key, but it goes beyond the pay alone. Like your product has to be a sellable product first and foremost.
Definitely.
Exactly. And your guys have to also be well equipped, well trained to be able to drive those. So once you've put those in their fronts, the product is available, the product is sellable. Now you have to now come in with your own abilities to sell this. So how do you motivate in terms of the financial part of it? For a sales team, depending on the kind of product you sell or the kind of service you offer, right? You have to be able to align your incentive structure with that. So let's separate it first. Some are focused on merchant acquisition, some are focused on customer acquisition, right? Your incentive structure must, at every point in time, target the things you want to achieve. Like you want to achieve volume, right? You want to achieve value. You want to achieve frequency. Let's say it's a merchant acquisition. When you acquire a merchant, you want that merchant to transact maybe 20 times in a week. You want that merchant, the volume of the transaction to be nothing less than 200,000 in a week, right? And you want that merchant to be active week on week. That's how you set your incentive structure. Which one is more important to me? The volume is more important to me. So I'm going to put 40% of my incentive on that. The value is important to me. Also, next, I'm going to put 20%. Frequency, if they like, let them do one in a day, let them that, I might put 10%, right? Depending on your business again. For instance, if you're using DSAs, and let's say you now have 5,000 DSAs, you might be struggling if you say, I'm taking 50% of my pay and I'm putting it on fixed, which means they are DSAs, right? They basically wake up from their houses and go to work, which means they are not like full staff where they clock in and they clock out. They don't have to come and pick product every day, which means they also devote some of their time to some other things. And you have to factor that in. So you might just say, okay, I have for this, if we're able to achieve 2 million revenue from this one merchant, I have 200,000 of that to pay to the DSA, all right? Based on how you structured your business, like how close they are to the business, are they full staff, are they managed, are they freelancers? That's when you decide, okay, I think I'm going to put 20% of that as fixed, which is stipend. Then the remaining 80% has to be earned as incentive. But how do they earn it? When you hit your volume targets, you earn 40% of it. When you hit your value target, you earn another 80% of it. So you have to layer it that way. The other way to motivate is to ensure that the OKRs cut across like the chain. So let's say you have people who are on the field, your DSAs, but there are people managing them. And then you give your DSA volume targets and you give the supervisor value targets. You know, they are working at variance.
Yeah, there's a variance.
And then you're not going to have, they won't be accountable. Even if the supervisor is saying, I need you to get a customer to do this number of transactions, the other guy is looking at it like, that's not my business. How many people I'm able to bring on board, that's my own business. So you have to make sure like 2 or 3 people at every time are on the same KPI OKR, so that they act as accountability partners, so that what you are trying to achieve as a business goes on. Then the last part that I'll touch on is you need to have like a retention scheme that works like quarterly, half yearly, yearly. And what that does for you is, in the process, in the entire process, or in the life cycle of DSAs, it's 5. You have the recruitment, you have the onboarding, then you have the conversion when they make their first sales. Then you have them becoming productive. Then you have retention. Retention is the last part of it. So when you have incentive geared towards retention, it means while they are driving that retention, they are at the same time driving productivity, right? Which means they are delivering on what you need them to deliver, while they are looking forward to that incentive, just retention incentive. It might be financial incentive. It might be financial incentive. It might be something that just make them feel good. It might be opportunity to get promoted and get absorbed into this team. But you need to have that also. Beyond what they earn weekly or earn monthly, let there also be something
Give
that
them something to look
rewards.
forward to.
Exactly, that rewards. Okay, you've been here and you've been productive for this while. You have this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Isoken, how do you approach motivation for your DSAs?
I think from where I stand, the most important incentive or motivation is money, right? From where I stand, I think one thing that has helped our success is, besides our openness and the sort of community we have built, community of trust we have built with our field sales staff, is we've also, for lack of a better word, not come across as greedy, right? There is a robust revenue share system that is open and fair, right? And I think, there are so many ways to incentivize your sales team, so many ways. However, I do find, especially for the field sales team, one of the things they count is their naira and kobo. When you want to recruit them, they would even ask, when you're having an interview session with a salesperson or
Yeah.
a sales field staff, after you've asked them all the fantastic questions and they've asked you and they've answered them, before you leave that session, you ask them, oh, do you have any question for us? One thing that is constant that they will ask is, okay, so what is the need for me? So now they want to sell. Why should I buy into your organization? Why should
Yeah.
I put in the effort to grow your business? So, one amazing thing that we have done is we have created a revenue share program that is very transparent, very, very interesting. And it helps our field sales staff, it helps our staff to know that they are part of a journey. So I know that if I make A for my organization, I'm getting F.
Yeah.
If I decide, what, this is my KPIs, I need to meet this, I need to meet that, I'm not just meeting those KPIs with nothing in front.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the reward as well, right? As I'm meeting those KPIs. And we have seen how important this has been. Like, it has really fostered a culture of trust from our sales agents. And then there's so many other reward systems. There's a reward for even being the best in your team. There's a reward for your region coming out as tops. Like, all these things are acknowledgements that have been put in place as part of a reward and incentive program that salespeople would, be more inclined to jump on. Because if I know that, oh, I'm part of a team, and if we do this, if we are the best in the entire organization, at the end of the year, we get this prize, we get this award, right? I would be able to put in my best foot and, do my part to make sure that my team, is able to meet those expectations, hit those KPIs, and win that award. So that's one of the ways that, a couple of ways that we have pushed or created a robust incentive program for our partners.
Yeah. Would you say you adopt a commission or flat or both? Because I heard Rasheed speak about both. Or which would you adopt today?
It's a commission structure.
Okay, commission. So if you deliver this, you get X. There's
And the
no.
amazing thing about this commission structure is we have so many examples to set as points of reference for
Mm,
new intakes, right?
new
And they
hires.
see it. So because some of, I mean, they are in a closed community, so I already know that this particular process works perfectly for ABC, works for this person. So I want to join that team because I know what is possible.
Mm, mm. Chidum, what do you think? I think speaking about your experience at Auto Check, how did you compensate your DSAs or your sales operatives? If they sell a car, will you give them another car?
All right, yeah. So I think of all places I've worked, I think AutoCheck has the best reward scheme I've seen. And so for me, what is key is motivation aside, incentive aside. Let's look at both as different cases. How
Mm,
do you motivate a team should be different from how you incentivize them. So I think the biggest issue is that most companies look at both as a blend, which they are not. So I can be heavily incentivized, but I don't feel motivated. And you see people
mm,
living despite having good commission structures. Do you understand? Now the first part is understanding that you have DSAs. These DSAs, the biggest issue is they are a pool of informal talent. That is the honest reality. And because they are informal, you're having people that can likely double job or conflict your policies. Now, the
yeah.
first motivation is that you should get them to understand that for each of their actions as your employee, there's an expectation as reward. So if I'm coming as a contract staff, I should expect that if I perform for a particular time, one day I'll be a full staff. I began my career as a DSE, so I can give you the walkthrough of how it worked for me.
Mm,
So on the incentive part of things, they want money. They want to make money. You should ensure that for your DSEs, they are earning on every action. So at AutoCheck, we had this a system whereby a deal ending on the warranty, you're ending on every single thing that our vehicle goes with. So you are being incentivized based on your every action on a sale. Now, how do we now motivate who we've incentivized? The first is we understand that you as a DSC, you should know the process and the people. Because if you are being incentivized and you don't know the people and the process, it will come to a point. You either start having apathy within. You feel that, oh, maybe because of our selling last 2 months, I didn't sell this month. Is why they don't approve my request anymore. It happens. At that point, the person is still incentivized, but no longer motivated. You get my
mm,
point? It happens a
yeah.
whole lot. But if the person understands the people and the process, at the point where you're still being incentivized, because you know that, okay, if I'm bringing this request, we've changed the way we do things. Because from a business point of view, maybe as at the first quarter of the year, our focus was on volume. As at this quarter of the year, our focus is on value. Do you understand? Because it's on
Yeah.
value, there will be some tweaks in processes that will now manage how I communicate to my customers or mentally how I now see my role in the business. Do you understand? That's enough
Yeah.
motivation. Is enough. So tomorrow, if I'm being paid a particular incentive as for my effort, I won't say, oh, I feel I was underpaid. Do you understand? Because I know that I'm,
Mm,
I'm being paid based on this was the particular company's KPI or scenario at this point of the year. There's not that understanding. So it's just for you as an employer to ensure that first thing first is that on an incentive level, you have a reward scheme that makes them earn on all their efforts to their movement. So there should be funds for mobility. That is very, very important too. So you don't have a DSC that is grumbling that they are putting in their own money into their daily operational costs. That becomes a problem. If they're feeling that they're putting their own money into their daily operational costs, they stop going out. And trust me, the
mm,
way Nigerians can be very, 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 very rigid. You see, after all, after he makes so much noise, now yeah, good day.
really.
It happens, you understand? And
Yeah, these are real things. Yeah, we
exactly.
experience them on the field.
Exactly. So the idea is that you want to manage the entire culture. So so I think for if you look at the banks and the telcos, I think if it comes to the motivation and incentive scheme, there's a reason why the banks and telcos in Nigeria they've stayed for so long, despite so much backlash in terms of their negatives. They took so long to now ask yourself that despite all this backlash, people leave the banks. Why are people still stuck with MTN? Why are people still stuck with Glo? Why are people stuck with Zenith Bank, UBA? What is in for them? Do you understand? On that incentive scheme, they've made you feel like you're a part owner of that company, either by you buying shares, either by you've been from contract to full staff, either by you are seeing the vertical growth in your career. And I think that is one thing that the most startups and most fintechs lack. There's no structure on the on the reward system for staff. So, and if you don't have that structure, you find out that any results you get in 2024 to 2025, you might fluctuate in 2026. So by the time that you're doing XYZ transactions or AB transactions, I find out that at the next 2 or 3 years, you stop doing them simply because of you felt you were giving your staff good incentives, but it was not well structured according to what they need at that point in time. And also, bear in mind that you should also do this from a revenue point of view. I've seen startups that they give so much on incentives, but they're bleeding. Do you understand? When they bleed, you say, oh, after all, we're selling. One day we'll still adjust. Trust me, by the time you adjust, your staff, because of the, like I said, the DSAs they're an informal pool. They are very informal. So maybe for your core staff and the senior guys, they might understand, okay, you're adjusting and things might change. Trust me, the DSAs might not see it that way. They might see it as, oh, the company now start punishing them for all their efforts. Do you understand? At that point, now have people double jobbing. Now people pulling out your customers to the next person. You now have you can even if it's in the payment space, you can even have your staff that is a DSA becoming an aggregator for another competitor. Do you understand? These are real time issues. Do you understand? So the best approach should be you as an employer, you've seen your revenue model, you've sat down with your chief revenue officer. This is how I want to make money. These are the pipelines. Looking at the pipelines, how can I manage my cost? So you see that for maybe a money point, they are giving a reward scheme of transactions. Do you understand? Maybe for an OP, they're giving a reward scheme capping you at the effort on your transaction value by month end. Do you understand? They have the reasons for it. But if the person in OP doesn't understand the people in OP and the process, you might see it as after a money point is getting better. Do you understand? If the money that way, after all, OP is getting better, and you now have so much apathy in your team. So it's just you drawing out that structure and understanding that motivation and incentives they might look similar, but they ain't the same thing. Draw the line. For motivation, look at what can keep my staff sticky, what makes them sticky, and it starts from as we heard from the first speaker. It starts from a good product that's sellable. That's important. They know the process, they know the people. That's enough motivation, and it's what builds your culture. Because if I'm a DSC, I have every idea from each department. I know from finance, I know from operations, I know from collections, I know from supply, from purchase. I have an idea from every department. It now makes the whole culture flow easier for me. I will see it as I am selling, and somebody in the office is backbiting me, or somebody in the office doesn't go, or maybe my boss doesn't like the way I dress. Do you understand? No, I'm seeing it from another angle. From the incentive side of things, I'm seeing that okay, because of this is the company's KPI at this point in time. This is where the company is sitting at. Probably, if I'm earning more on value, I should be earning more from volume. I now change focus. But for the side, it should be an effort of the company giving you rewards from all you do. And like I said, for AutoCheck, they've been doing that so far. And if you look at AutoCheck or an OP, I think OP did that at a point too. They don't spend much on advert, but you're seeing that they are having so much of that product everywhere because of they've made the DSAs to understand that because of I can earn from everything. I'm like a CEO of my strategy. I'm like a CEO of my pipeline. I'm like a CEO of at that point you've mentally I don't know if it's what you mentally abducted your DSAs. Do you understand? And for me, that's how the whole culture works.
I think very, very insightful conversations. I think he called back to what Rasheed said about people and process. Isoken really stressed bottom line, we need money. We need money. When we see money, we are motivated. But aside from just money, there are other ways to motivate our DSAs. I think Chidum, you've also stressed on. I heard you say giving them something to look forward to. If a DSA knows I can start as a DSA, and after maybe a few months of excellent performance, I can grow maybe into level 1, level 2, become a core staff, that can also motivate these DSAs. I'm also aware that some companies implement, HMO plans for their DSAs just to encourage them, giving them some form of stipend. Not all companies pay for stipends though, but these are also ways that companies and product owners can incentivize and motivate, their DSAs. So thanks for that. Um, Now I want to talk about challenges. I mean, we've talked about the model, it works. We've talked about the people, training them, onboarding the right kind of people, and how to motivate them. Now I want us to talk about challenges, and I'd like to hear from Rasheed and Isoken. In your experience, what are the most significant operational challenges when managing DSAs? Right, I think Isoken, you mentioned you have like a team of 50 or more. What are the challenges you typically face in managing these DSAs, and how do you address them?
So I think one of the challenges, because a lot of these DSAs, they are informal, they are offline, right?
Yeah,
Many of them, in fact, most organizations don't really have like a binding contract, employee contract with them, right? So in code, they're sort of free agents, right? Yeah, they're sort of free agents. So you could find yourself in a situation where somebody is double dealing, right? Even though I know some
yeah,
organizations like ours, we're against that. You
found against it.
have that focus on your organization or what the role that you play. But we have instances where you would have instances where someone's focus is split, and they are double dealing. So the question is, how do you manage that? How do you handle that? I think this also brings into play what I said earlier, which is at the point of onboarding, right? I think the way you structure your onboarding, your training would also help you or help you communicate your values, the values of your organization to your field staff, helping them understand where your organization lies or where they fall or how they see things like this, split focus, double dealings, and all that. One thing that I know we have successfully done is we have the field agents, and then we have people that manage these field agents beyond having a brand that they are proud of. Because one thing that the last speaker mentioned was you want your DSAs to feel part of the
Yeah,
system. I'm a CEO of my own future, of my own organization, and
mm-hmm.
I'm a partner to this larger organization. Making our DSAs feel like they're a part of the success of the organization has really, really helped, right? That challenge that we experienced to experience in the past, right? There were instances in the past when we first started where this particular agent is doing this and is doing that, and the focus is split, and you're asking, why is this person not productive? It's just because of that. By the time we got the motivation part down, by the time we got the incentives part down, by the time we were able to build a partnership culture with these field agents, it was really easy to navigate that. We didn't have any of those problems anymore. I know another problem some sales managers I've spoken to have is getting the right people, right?
Mm,
And has always been a problem. Like, how do I get the right people that will put in the work and really focus on what I need them to focus on? And I think that's also goes into your hiring process as well. It goes into the persona that you're looking for as well. It goes into, what are you selling to these field agents, right? Are you just selling them a dream? Are you selling them a horse where there is no end, there's no water in sight, just give, and nothing to show for it? Are you selling them ownership, or are you just saying, what, do this and you get this and that's it, and you get a base salary, you don't get anything in return, you're just part of the wheels that are pushing the cart,
mm,
but not even part of the end goal. We cannot say this brand is ours. I'm saying this brand is yours. This brand belongs to Dara. This brand belongs to Olumide. So what are you really selling to the field agents that you are trying to recruit? Are you even also selling a product that works? That's also another thing that I have seen. I mean, I've interviewed so many people, and when I tell them, where are you coming from? I'm coming from so and so. Why do you want to leave? Why do you want to move? They just tell me it doesn't work. The product does not work.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it and how to say it in a way that sounds pleasant. It just doesn't work, right? And for a salesperson, you're not just selling a product, you're selling yourself as well.
Yeah.
If I go down my street and people know me as the person who provides a product, a service that doesn't work, there is no way the day I now find a product that actually works, they would
They
listen
will
to
take
me.
me seriously.
So, yeah. So if the product doesn't work, the salespeople have a problem. You would have a problem with your sales team, right? If you haven't given your team something to be loyal to, right, you would also have a problem with your sales team.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I think one thing that struck is even from the inception, from getting them in. If you get the right set of people, most of the challenges will be, will non-existent. Thanks for that, Rashid.
Okay, so very valid everything Mr. spoke about, but I'm going to also approach it from like two ways. Like, let's say everything is fine, the product is fine, you've gotten the right people and all. Operational issues, which I were talking about day to day, how it
Yeah.
goes. Where I see challenges is that when those things are right, and then you start seeing the sales coming in, the revenue coming in, all the metrics in the right direction, then that's when you are going to see the stress test of your systems. And at that point, what I always see is that you find the systems are usually lagging behind the speed of the field team. You've brought them in, you've trained them, you've motivated them, you are giving them the right incentives, and they're firing on all cylinders. Then you find out that, okay, my customer service is now responding slower. It used to be 30 minutes. Now we're seeing 1 hour. Now we're seeing 2 hours. Also, because they are field guys, like we've said, and they are informal guys, and they are smart people, like they have their smartness on the field. They know things. Also, let's say, for an example, like before we have the money point and the OP that tribe, you know how many have come and they are like nowhere, and they all died on these guys' tables. So those guys also know all the loopholes. So what I also find is that when people start seeing problems, like whatever you send to the streets, let's be very clear, people will try to game it.
Yeah, sure.
They'll find a loophole. What I see is that you now find out that people at the back end, when they see those things, rather than go to the root cause of it, they add an extra layer to the process. So a process that is like 4 levels will now be 6 levels, 7 levels. You now find out that processes are now cumbersome. You are now asking yourself, are we trying to sell, or we're just trying to block everything? Like, we could go back and look at this process. We could go back. This is something we can block with tech. Let's block it with tech rather than introduce an extra. For instance, let's say onboarding. You're already asking for NIN. It is fine. But you find out that, oh, there's a way they can bypass the NIN. Then you say to NIN, now you need to add BVN. Then later you say with the NIN and BVN, you need to now add your SIM card, proof that you own your SIM card. You understand? You're basically just complicating things. Whereas, why are they bypassing the NIN? Let me go and look at it. Is there a product I can use? Is there something I can build to block that? So I see that happens also. Misalignment between the people at the back, the DEX
Product
team, and the
and
field
then
team.
sales. Yeah.
Yes, product. So rather than product always looking at complicating things, they should look at simplifying it for the field guys. Then, when you now talk about the field guys also, field people, I'll tell you, I've been a salesperson for a while, and because we are the revenue center, some form of arrogance comes in at some time, and then complacency will set in. And we're running business in a place like Nigeria, very volatile. Things change very fast.
Yeah.
There might be a regulatory requirement that means you have to change the way you work. Like we said, when you're chasing last quarter, you can say, okay, we're now okay now we need to chase something else. Last quarter we're chasing acquisition. Now we need to drive revenue.
Yeah.
We change those. You find out that if your guy is the level above the DSA guys, their supervisors, their managers, if they don't have discipline or ownership, you now find out that you are basically tank. You now find out that the guys on the field are now struggling. Things that will take 12 hours to resolve might not linger for 1 month. And because you are in an environment where, these guys are freelancers, the double deal, some triple deal, you just find out that for all the coaching and the training you've given these guys, they are now like top strikers, and they are taking those talents elsewhere to go because they basically just want to make money. So you find that, to summarize, sometimes the processes and the systems do not develop as fast as the field. And sometimes also you find out at the field there will not be complacency based on some track record, some solid results, and then it starts affecting retention and longevity of the results you want to achieve. Those are the two key operational challenges I see.
So, but at your companies, how have you addressed them in the past?
So how we've addressed that is continuous training, continuous coaching. Like basically, as long as you're in sales and our customers are in the street, they're in the market. We are in the market almost all the time. Out all the time. So, like you said, training and coaching is forever an ongoing thing. So on a weekly basis, they are coming together at cluster level. You have a guideline for them on how to raise it. So there's a point where people raise issues like, do you have a pending issue? And people come up with the pending issues. And the manager they have an SLA. This should not take more than 24 hours. This should not take more than 48 hours to resolve. When there are new things, they come in and share them there. At the beginning of every month also, they come together as a territory, celebrate the top performers, reward them, and charge the other guys to go. And then part of it, when our guys come in, I said it earlier, that there's a structured onboarding. They are told also that on monthly basis, there's also going to be like an online course that you have to take. So at every point in time, we're looking at it, okay, what are we lacking on? Where do we see some gaps? So we have a national training manager who comes up with that, uploads it on the e-learning platform, and everybody basically goes in and gets them done. And because we're also driving behavior, there is reward for those who are able to drive their guys to take the courses. And for those who struggle with it, there's also some punishment. In sales, you can't keep getting rewards also. Sometimes you get knocks when you don't deliver.
Definitely. Thanks for that. I think these challenges are challenges that are consistent across various companies, and Chidum spoke at length about multiple salespeople, doing 2 or 3 jobs. Another thing you also stressed on is poaching, because that's what we see a lot. OPA wants to poach Money Point staff. Money Point want to take the best hands from the next company. And so it's necessary that companies have to do more to get their salespeople integrated into the company. So it's not just about numbers or incentives, but they feel like they're a part of the company. I think we are quickly running out of time, so I'll just take 2 questions and then we'll get questions from the house. The next question is really around technology. At your various companies, how do you leverage technology to improve performance? I know that at OP at the time, we had to build out a BD tool to monitor our salespeople. So each salesperson, we can actively see if you have visited the merchants within your bid zone and how much terminals you're meant to have sold, your expectations. So I want to know, how do you leverage technology to improve the performance and efficiency of your teams? And how do you measure their performance? Anyone can go first.
Okay. I think I'll go first. So,
Ladies first.
Money Point, right? We built a very, very interesting sales performance tool. Now, I think one thing that we've done is, which I mean, you would expect every technology company to do, is automate basically 95% of our processes, and this includes sales. So one thing that we have tools that track performance, and these tools are visible from down up and up down. So I am not just, as a sales agent, I'm not just working in isolation. I can see in real time, I can track, I can log on to my profile and see in real time all the activities of every merchant in my portfolio, right? I can see, oh, this particular merchant has not done a lot. What's happening? It looks like they so far today they should have hit this particular milestone, but they haven't hit the milestone. I need to engage them. So we've noticed that real-time trackers like this have been very, very instrumental towards the productivity of the field sales agent. So if I know that I have these tools at my disposal, right, I don't need to wait till the next day before I look at my report and say, oh, wait, hang on, what happened here?
Yeah,
I
they
can
did.
literally track performance in real time. Then also, you can also see that your line managers and your line manager's manager can see your performance against the set KPIs,
Yeah.
right? So there is no manual interaction in the entire process. I can see in real time. I can see, oh, this is what my line manager is going to see. And if I know that these are the set KPIs, at the time, and in literally in the first week of a new month, I should already have a strategy for how to meet that
Yeah.
month's KPIs, because I know in real time I can see the accountability application, or the accountability app striking every day until the end of the month. So at the end of the month, do I want to get a reward, or do I want to get a hard knock, like Rasheed said?
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm glad to know that you also have a tool. Rashid, you want to speak about that? Chidum, you speak to.
Yes, of course. So we have it as a technology company also. We have a tool for our sales guys, and it runs through the entire system. It runs through the entire verticals where everyone can see. So I'll say, like, for like products, people who are just starting out, yes, if they don't have those already, it's something they can also use Power BI Looker to do. But then salespeople must never be running blind. Data
Yeah.
is very, very key. But for us, we have an app which shows track sales performance, and is also like a CRM tool for our DSAs, our direct sales representatives. So they can see their performance, they can see what they've done today, they can see week to date, month to date, quarter to date. They can see their customers, they can see the payment pattern of their customers, such that the customers who are probably not helping them on what they call the quality of their sales, they can reach out to those customers and find out if they are having some issues and help them resolve those issues also. And the people managing them, which are like the cluster leaders, can see every DSRs under them and see what they've done. The field sales manager will see for every cluster leader and every DSR. So everyone up to regional managers, up to myself, we can all see those, up to the number of stock that is in the hands of each DSR, up to how long those stocks have stayed in the hands of the DSRs, the ones that are close to aging, the ones that are aged that the DSR needs to return, because if it's still those number of days, maybe you're struggling to sell it, to return it and come and pick another one. So it has all of those. And it also has like a gamification in it, which is like you have levels you get to say, are you productive? You unlocked another level of incentive. But if you go to this level, you unlock further. It also shows like, okay, based on segmentation, you are a platinum DSR. You right now, so stay on this platinum. You need to hit this amount of sales every week, every month to stay in this rank as a platinum, like a 5-star general. He has those who will be gold and say, yeah, you're trending well on this. If you want to go to platinum next, this is what you get to. And being a platinum DSR has its own perks. Being a gold DSR has its own perks, which is slightly lower than what a platinum DSR will get. So those kind of technology helps. Having those for salespeople, it's compulsory. If you don't have those yet, it's something you can build on a local report that drops in their email, maybe by 12 midnight, that when they wake up the following morning, they need to know what they need to work with, where they are. But building an app, very smart one, where you can quickly tweak things, turn things around on the app when you have new things. Like those apps also have like training material. There are new products, there are price changes. You upload a new flyer. So each DSR is not looking for where is it, send it to me on WhatsApp. If you log into your app, you can see in your knowledge bank, okay, these are our latest flyers. So very key. We use it and it works well for us.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to ask Isoken and yourself. So what about for small startups or product owners who don't have the money to go and build app like your, what do you suggest they do? Or Isoken, when you started at Money Point, you guys were a team less than 100. How did you monitor performance? Or you guys had an app then already?
And I mean, like Rasheed said, you don't need anything elaborate, especially when you're starting. When you're starting, something as simple as an Excel tracker can help you out. It's not really rocket science. You just have to have visibility, right? Something that you can use to hold your team accountable.
Yeah.
And you also would see, I know, remember then what we used to do, we had an Excel sheet, and every day you had to feed into that Excel sheet. So at the end of the day, your line manager is able to see what you did that day, right? Did you close this? How many did you close? How many assignments did you complete? Then they can go to maybe a database or the data team to say, can you generate reports for these number of people that this person claimed they onboarded yesterday or today, right? So it doesn't have to be anything um,
Elaborate.
elaborate, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I think we have just one last question, and this will be taken by everyone. I'll start with you, Chidum. So basically, we're in the what would I call it? Let me just say it's AI time. How do you think AI affects direct sales and distribution and emerging markets? Right. What emerging trends do you foresee in the landscape? Do you think AI can replace direct sales agents? I would like to hear your thoughts on these as we wrap up this session. So I'll take it from everyone: Chidum, then Rasheed, then Henry Isoken. Thank you.
Yeah, so it has been quite a topic on media. What can AI take and what can AI not take? The beautiful thing about sales is that from the first layer, which are the DSAs, what is the most important part of the entire value chain system is the human interaction, and that is because of you being a DSE. You don't just close out sales or do onboardings. You manage feelings, you manage emotions, you manage relationships, and you manage expectations. Now, I don't see AI having a major influence in sales in terms of the DSE end. However, I only see AI as a collaborative means of making DSCs become better. That is just why I say it because, like I mentioned, the human interaction part is what you cannot manage that from a centralized technological point of view. It will only give you perceptions and generic understanding. But the DSC is someone that is giving you perceptions also and also understanding based off native intelligence. It's not what it's telling you from he learned it in a business school, he learned it from Harvard. It's telling you based on the organic structure of the bit is working in. If I'm in a limo show, and I'll give you a story. Um, um, there was a time that we were trying to scale at where I work a product, and we are having this understanding based on an AI perception that this product will go across every part of Lagos because it has worked in some places. Then we got to Alimosho. Alimosho is like the biggest local government in Lagos, and naturally, Alimosho should give you numbers from that kind of product. From an AI standpoint, it is good to go because you've done the basics that the products we need. The AI has deployed strategies that should take that product to that part of the market. But guess what? It didn't fly in Alimosho. It didn't fly, and that was because of we I would say we ignored, but we didn't actually we are far from the reality of what the DSCs were giving from that particular part of Lagos, and we had to draw. We draw back. Okay, from a DSC standpoint, how does this work? And we used that strategy, and in less than a month, we scaled in that same area. So you've seen that the AI is more like it should be more of collaborative than opposing what the DSC should do. So AI would have no influence on the DSCs that job roles in the future or even now.
Thanks for that. Okay, Rasheed, what do you think?
Okay, very solid contribution. Emerging trend. I think direct sales and distribution. We've not even started scratching the surface in Nigeria yet. I've seen telco have moved in. The banks are also doing it. The renewables, fintech, people are doing it. So because everybody's gravitating towards that, I don't think AI will replace direct sales in Nigeria, like for the foreseeable future. Just also to add on what Chidum said, we're still those people who still talk to each other. When you leave like maybe the urban centers and you move to the peri-urban and the rural areas, you see that people value direct interactions more. Even when you give people flyers, it's in their hand, they will still ask you questions that are already on the flyers. So you are still going to see people wanting to make people talk to people before they make the final decision, the buying call. But would AI have an effect? Yes, it will. And the effect it's going to have is right now, AI is everywhere. Like even as you're on WhatsApp, if you type arts, Meta AI is what will come up first. And when you look at AI, it's gone beyond Google, just going to Google to check. It's now like something that can make you have better insight, make faster decisions, and all of those. So I would say for those who are even direct sales agents or who are trying to grow in sales, they need to embrace AI because it's going to help them be better. It's going to improve their agility. It's going to improve their ability to think far and wide. Like, you can basically just sit down and say, okay, I've just been given this territory. You can go into Gemini or go into ChatGPT and say, how many streets do we have in Alimosho? And you see that in no time it will tell you. That can now help you to say, okay, if this is it, then this is how I need to break my route and beat. This is how how many I need to visit in a day. So those who are able to think that way, you'll find out that they'll be more productive, who are able to utilize those like available AI tools. You find out that they'll be more productive. Like maybe something has just come up, you quickly want to design a flyer. You can just go into Gemini and drop a prompt and say, design a flyer for Money Point, this and this, and it will come out under 5 minutes, and you can start distributing that to people around you. So what I would say is it will make people more productive. It will make them deliver more. It will help them to be able to think far and wide. It can help them when they have a problem to draw insights very fast, and then they will become better at what they are doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really spot on. And Isoken, your thoughts?
Yes, I would just add this. I think now, and there are so many articles that are out there to support this. Now, more than ever, we are already realizing that AI is not meant to replace. It's not meant to really replace us. in quotes. Right? It's instead it's supposed to enhance and elevate the work that we do. Even here at Money Point, there's something that we're doing to incorporate AI into our processes, and that's just because AI is supposed to work for you and not necessarily replace you,
Yeah.
especially if you're in a customer-facing role, right? There's a case study. There's a case study that we did recently. I just dropped the link in the chat.
Hello, is it just me? I can't hear Isoken anymore.
Same here.
I'm sorry,
I
can
can't
you
hear
hear me?
Okay.
also.
Yeah, we can hear
Yes,
you now.
can hear you
Yeah.
now.
All right, sorry. So I said there was a case study that we did at Money Point where we went to Borno State to look at the impact of financial inclusion, financial services in a particular sector. We looked at the market, we looked at agriculture, and the entire interaction just tells you that you would never be able to remove the human aspect of
Mm,
sales, of relationship management, of prospecting, of merchant engagement, right? So what I know will happen is at a point in time, like I mentioned, Money Point is currently doing and working on, businesses would incorporate or teach their DSAs how to incorporate AI into their processes,
yeah.
right? To become smarter, to work smarter, to improve agility, right? And to, remove all those, there are so many manual processes that some sales activities have. Remove those manual processes and become, a more agile contributor to your organization.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, AI isn't here to take anybody's jobs, so everybody calm down. I think it's really just to improve efficiency and results. So we're taking questions from the house, and I think the first question I can see is how do you manage remuneration and performance? I think we talked at length on that, but does anyone want to chime in? No, we don't need to. Femi Onorinde says, how functional is recruiting DSAs for e-commerce marketplaces like Konga and Gigi? I think Rashid, you'll be in a strong place to speak on this. How functional is recruiting DSAs for e-commerce?
So very functional, very functional. I think it's even like extremely relevant. But then it has to be seen like this is what we're talking about here will be B2B,
Mm,
because what you are going to recruit are business owners that you want them to come and be on those platforms.
yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you have DSAs for those, and you set their KPIs on like who are the people you are recruiting, how long does it take them to list their products, how well did they list the products. Then you can now see like volume, what's the frequency of listing, how are they making sales, and all of those.
Mm,
So it has to be a lengthy thing. But what we need to clearly understand is that at this level, you have to have like a higher level of competence for this kind of DSAs. Like they have to be able to manage relationship. They also have to be able to be analytical, and they also have to be able to have what you can call commercial talk, whereby you talk to people step by step, and then you continue to check up on them, knowing that these people need to make money from what they are doing, and your platform also needs to make money. Depending on what your platform does. For instance, I know Gigi basically sell like ad space, which means you buy for 3 months and they push your products depending on what you've paid for. But a place like Konga, you have to have your own store and then try to sell.
yeah.
So it's can work. It will actually work because you have a lot of, like, there are so many e-commerce sites where they can all be. So you have a DSA who is going to say, yes, you have 10 options, but I'm telling you that mine is the best. And these are the reasons why it is in your best interest to be on mine and drive on mine. So yes, it's very functional and it can be very, very productive when
Awesome.
done well.
Awesome. Any more questions? Continuous training and coaching. Please, what about measures for agents that get to game the system? So I remember we were speaking about some agents that are able to game the system. I think he's asking what measures do we have for those type of people? Isoken, in Morning Point, do you, when you identify some of these agents that are sort of double jobbing, how do you deal with this situation?
I think it's going to be a function of your organization, right?
Yeah.
And what is acceptable to the organization. In my organization, it's not acceptable, and it's something that is frowned upon. Like I mentioned before, you're splitting your focus heavily. And if you've been on the field, I'm sure Chidum mentioned he started on DSA level. You know how intense it can
Okay.
get. So having that split focus is not really something that an organization like ours we interested in managing, right? So typically you would stay engaged.
What if he's a top performer? What if he's giving you a numbers? What is even your best stuff?
So what that means is if the person is your best staff, it means the person is giving 50% of that effort elsewhere. And the question is, imagine if we had put in that 50% here, the guy would probably be the best staff. So
Yeah.
and then also, I mean, the trainings, the resources that we've put into that particular individual, it gets a bit messy because how do you manage both?
Yeah. Chidum, any thoughts? What measures or how can companies manage these type of situations
All
or
right, so
manage it
I
better?
think so I think the first measure is to even understand why should people game your system, because the truth is that if it comes to people trying to play too smart, you can't stop it. You can only curb it. That is just the honest truth. Now, when you understand why they game your system and you then know what measures you take, now it is not advisable to have someone that double jobs. However, I feel as an employer you should look at from the point of recruitment. I as XYZ Limited, what is my business strategy for my DSAs? Am I going vertical? Am I going horizontal? If you are going for a vertical strategy, you should ensure that those you are bringing as DSAs, you are bringing in people that you are giving them full and real-time support on every angle. So it means that you are giving them packages from the HMO to logistics to click to giving them reward system that is enticing to the fact that they have to grow on the job on a quarterly basis or on a yearly basis after appraisal. That you are going through a vertical system that you don't need to onboard so many merchants or have too many people under the pipeline. Maybe you are doing a B2B kind of business. Do you understand? In that kind of system, if someone should game it, is after termination because you provided all that is needed to ensure the person succeeds. However, if you're going through like a horizontal kind of strategy, like a money point, an OP, or an MTN, that kind of strategy, you should ensure that you should know that people they are bringing on board, if they are 100, 60 will want to game it. Because if you are paying them a 150K salary as DSs, the way the country is, nobody's going to use that money to survive for the next 1 month. That is just the honest truth. Now, so what do you do? I said something earlier on that you ensure that they earn on each of their actions. So the main thing about gaming is that if there's an action that a DSC feels that on this action I'm not being appreciated for, they'll take that action line to the next competitor or probably out of the business. So if your DSC is someone that he visits merchant regularly, but in terms of closing sales, maybe he doesn't meet the required number, but he does like 80% of the KPI. And because of that, you are not paying him or her mobility. In his or her head, he feels that me going to visit this merchant on a daily basis is not relevant. What do I do? I'll look for a job that will not need me to visit merchant every day. Do you understand? But I'm working online.
Mm.
Are you with me, Israel? So the
Yeah, I
first
get
thing is,
you.
yeah, you can't stop gaming. that is sacrosanct. Like in terms of business, you can't touch it. You can't stop gaming, be it in US or Nigeria. The idea is that understand why gaming is happening and how do you measure it. It starts from knowing your strategies. You cannot be using you cannot be going through a horizontal pipeline of you want to get all merchants across board and you're applying a vertical strategy that is getting one or two businesses and you expect people not to game it. They will game it. Do you understand? However, if you look at your strategy and you're seeing that I'm going vertically and I expect much more ethical approach. I expect people to be more professional, people to wear their suit and tie. That is a vertical approach. On that, you can terminate outrightly. On the other approach, you can't stop the gaming, but you just ensure that you are rewarding them. However, when you are seeing that you have too many loopholes that you cannot correct, then you can now start to terminate those that are in the system that are doing such and dragging the team back.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Any last words from anyone around utilizing DSAs to scale your product? Any advice you give to product owners?
Really, no, I no, so much more like an advice, Joe. So,
Okay.
it's basically today, looking at the industry, I think as a product owner, from all we've all said here, it's important for you to first of all understand your product and the best process because one of the major issues that affects product owners when they are building their sales team is you don't want to have a sales team that there's too much ambiguity on how they should work
Yeah.
and the way they should work. If there's ambiguity, if you have the best product, you have the best markets, trust me, like you ain't going nowhere. So first of all, ensure that on your own end, at least the KPIs are as clear as possible. If the KPIs are clear, trust me, even during recruitment, the wrong hands will not want to come. After a month or two, you fish them out. They will like it now becomes a self-cleansing system that this is not the right place for me. I just go off. So you're just getting that part clear. Then on the second part is you also understanding where are your pipelines for revenue and how do you manage them. Not
Yeah.
every pipeline needs a DSC. Some pipeline needs a very, very high performing team that can close down verticals.
Close them up. Yeah.
Yes, so if you know your revenue pipelines, know okay what team needs a DS, what team needs DSCs, what teams do not. You cannot be using a team that doesn't need, you can't be having a pipeline that is not DSC centric and you're pulling in DSCs there because you feel that oh this DSC is a top performing person. You can have your top performing DSC on a product and you migrate them to the next product and they flop. Yeah, it
Yeah.
happens. So the way I see it is like I see it like a football game. If you know the way a coach manages the game and looks at the tempo, know when to sub and when to put in the right players for different positions. That's just the way it's going to happen when you are handling DSs for your business.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chidum. Isoken?
Yeah, I think, like Chidum said, I agree that not all products really require DSAs, but if yours does, especially if you play in like a distribution space,
Yeah.
right? Um, you need to have a framework, and that is the easiest thing to set up as a business owner. You're just literally putting pen to paper. What are the products? What is the expectation? What do I hope to gain at the end of the year? Right? How do I get that? What kind of skill set do I need my DSAs to have in order to achieve that? What tools do they need? Right? When you have this framework, right, and you have a first set of DSAs, you communicate clearly. I think clarity, context is really, really important. If your sales team are going into the field blind without any clarity, it would hurt their own sales efforts, right? You cannot have that clarity if you don't have that framework. So, yes, once you've established that your distribution channel or your product needs this distribution channel, have that framework ready, be able to communicate it to their online managers, right, in a way that you want it to be communicated. Let it be passed down to the DSAs, and it will be really, really easy for them to, and also ensure you have an incentive. I think that's something I find very, very important. Incentive and a motivational side to the engagement. They need to feel like they are part of the system. They need to understand what the trajectory for them is. They also need to understand what the incentive for them will be.
Thank you so much for that. Rasheed, to wrap up for
Okay.
us.
Yes. So riding on what Chidum and Isoken have said, so I'll just add a little on it to say, yes, it does work, and you need to clearly have a framework for it to work. But also know that when you are starting to build it out, it's going to stress you a little. You are going to have some come in, some go out, but then it's a learning process for you. It's a learning curve. How firm your business case, how firm your framework, your incentive structure, your motivation tools, your product will determine how long the flux will last. But once it lasts, from there you can just scale exponentially. Then the second one is that when you set that up, you are setting it up as the next level in the products you're building, because they are going to go to the field and come back with insights, like valuable insights, use cases from people on the field who are supposed to use the product or drive the product. And you would know that you need to factor those into your product, tweak your products, and then come back to the market stronger. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rasheed. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this session. It was very insightful. We got very good comments from the house. GHA team, thank you for putting this together. Dara, finally we see your face. It was a very great privilege to be speaking to these superstars. Thank you.
Oh, says the superstar himself. Thank you so much, and thank you, Rasheed. Thank you, Isoken. Thank you, Chidum. Thank you so much for coming online, coming to this session, and sharing, bearing it all out. Right, I think I was very, very much intrigued by the whole session. Right, I'm someone that I'm pro sales, I'm pro everything as long as it's going good. Right, and it's good to see how just learn how sales is able to drive growth directly for the different kind of product that you guys work on already, and also how people themselves can actually build their sales team, build their sales distribution, sales network, and also use that to appropriately drive growth, right? And once again, it's been a pleasure, it's been a privilege having us. Thank you so much for making out the time, and once again sharing our knowledge. For everyone that has stayed through, I think at 5:45, I think we still had about 35 or so people tuned in, and I was like, oh wow, this is really serious. People are very, very much curious and interested in learning more about sales and how to help their sales game end to end. And it was good to have this session. If you want to, for our audience, if you want to connect with our speakers, you can basically connect with them through the handles that are showing on your screen, right? I know you can connect with Isoken on LinkedIn. You can connect with Babajide on LinkedIn. You can connect with Mr. Rasheed on LinkedIn. You can connect with Chidum on both LinkedIn and Instagram, right? So you can connect with all our speakers through the different handles showing on your screen. And this session was brought to you by GrowthHackers Africa. It's part of our series of webinars that we've been having for the past 7 to 8 months now, that is focused on different pillars of growth. And basically, we are just picking out each of the channels that drive growth and has driven growth for African startups in the last decade, right? And distribution sales network is one of the strong ones. So we've seen how it has helped companies like OP, Moneypoint, PalmPay, even Hemcopa, right? And see, we've been able to bring guys from both Hope, Moneypoint, and Copa on board, and you've learned from them, right? And so if you're interested in joining this community, GrowthHackers Africa is a community of both growth operators, growth leaders, sales leaders, marketing leaders, every single person that is focused on driving key business value for the product companies they work with, right? You can basically just visit bit.ly/sign up to GHA. It's a simple form that basically asks you a couple of questions and you can get admitted into the community, right? You'll be able to get to meet a number of people and also ask very much interesting questions that you have as regards growth, right? So if you have specific questions as regards growth, or you have specific challenges as regards how you are driving growth, and you want to be able to learn from people who have been there and done that, or people who are currently doing that, this is the community to be. And as a next step to this, right, we are also moving on to pick another very, very much interesting channel in our next webinar that is going to be coming up next month, and it's called experiential marketing, right? And so experiential marketing is basically focused on how you can create unforgettable brand experiences for your customers that basically drive customer loyalty, right? So as much as you run paid ads, as much as you have your sales team, as much as you have influencers, these are some of the channels we picked up in the last couple of months, right? You also need to be able to like create one-to-one brand experiences that your customers would enjoy, your customers will love, and it will create an unforgettable experience such that they can relate to it, right? If you're interested in knowing how to do this at scale, how to do it appropriately, and even how to measure result, right? Because sometimes we feel this type of channels, there's no way to measure result. But if you're interested in knowing how to measure result, right, you need to be at this session, and this is coming up on August 23rd, on Saturday, August 23rd. It's something you don't want to miss. Same time, 4 p.m. We would really love to have you. Once again, you can join the community by visiting bit.ly/sign up to GHA to be a part of us. We basically share updates on it. And if you register for this session, definitely, you'll be getting an update about the next session. You can also like go on our YouTube channel to see the different sessions we've had in the past. I think that's all for me. Thank you once again, amiable speakers, for joining in, and thank you so much for your time. It's been 2 hours plus, right? And I've enjoyed every bit of it. I'm sure our listeners also have enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you. Do have an amazing evening.